Oh, goodness. Yeah. I know.
I know, that was really...
It's going to screw with your diet over there. Can't be eating food this late in the day. Actually, this would be early. So if you don't eat food till 4 o'clock in the afternoon, do you start with breakfast? Is your 4 o'clock like bacon and eggs? So if you eat from 4 to 8, do you cram in your breakfast, lunch, and dinner in those 4 hours? Because that's what I would do.
That might give you tendinitis.
Oh, goodness.
Did you see that?
I usually start with a cocktail.
Wait, for breakfast? You know, this is the truth. I've said this before. People say, you're an alcoholic if you like to drink alone or drink in the morning. Well, I can give you what, Joanna? Well, I mean, I hate to say,
That's the best times to do it.
you're kind of textbook, okay? No, but if you think about it, I got a perfect example. Football on Sundays.
Yeah.
You know, get rid of your family, have yourself a Bloody Mary in the morning. It is one of the greatest things ever.
Did you look at this?
What's that?
This is that episode
Yes.
for Charlie.
Yes. I might be able to get rid of my dog, which I love to death. But I have the most destructive dog on the face of the planet. I bought all new furniture 2 years ago, ruined it all, just ate everything. Dig holes. My backyard looks like bombs went off.
We know Charlie.
Hey guys, nice to see you here. Who do we got? Hey, listen, as we go forward, just sharing is caring. If you guys hit that share button, it totally helps me out, and I see you guys doing that, and it's super cool. And we're going to cover a bunch of great stuff today. We've got some great information that we're going to share with you. We've got some great visuals to kind of help you understand what we're doing. So sharing is caring. So who do we got out there today? What's going on? What is going on? So when was the last time you had a Bloody Mary, Keanu, before 10 o'clock in the morning?
Well, I prefer the IPA, right, when I wake up.
Oh, God. Just the straight whiskey. What's up, Kai? How we doing? We got Kai?
You know, you've seen it.
Yeah, exactly. Kai, we're going to be out there in Arizona. We're going to be in Gilbert, Chandler area. Chandler and Gilbert in the same area, right? We're going to be in the Chandler-Gilbert area on the 13th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. My video editor and my ops manager are going to be coming out there with us, so we would love to see you. Also, just to let you guys know, I'll be in San Diego on the 12th, the 11th, and the 12th, speaking at the California Association of Mortgage Brokers Professional event. And then we'll be jumping a plane and heading out and spending the week. We're renting a house out in Arizona. And, why not? Let's go to Arizona, right? I think it's only going to be 127 degrees out there, right? So we got a place out there in Chandler-Gilbert. Anybody who wants to come by and jump in our pool, we would love to see you. Craig, what's going on, man? Nice to see you. Dave, dude, what's going on? My buddy down there in Houston. He's wearing that hat. See, Dave Baum down there in Houston, he's feeling pretty good because Altuve hit that grand slam to win. But do you realize the same day Altuve hit that grand slam, do you realize that we had Yaz hit a grand slam for the Giants, who came back from a 7-0 deficit. So that's good stuff.
And the difference is that Yaz didn't know what pitch was coming.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. The difference is Yaz didn't have anyone smashing a tin trash can in the background telling him a slider's coming. Arica. How do you pronounce that name? Velasquez. Arisa? What's up, Jen Conley out there in Ohio, right? Jen Conley. I remember I have this great story with Jen Conley, by the way. Me and Frank, we did a speaking gig in Denver, and Frank stayed up the whole night. Like, the whole night. So when we were on the plane the next morning, Frank started crashing, and it looked like somebody dipped his whole body in popcorn butter. I mean, it's just like sweat and toxins were coming out of him. We were speaking at the Ohio Mortgage Bankers Association get-together. And so we went to, I think it was a P.F. Chang's across the street. I'm like, well, maybe there's nobody at this thing. We went there, and the place was packed with, suits and ties. So me and Frank, we went across the street to this P.F. Chang's to put together our presentation, and Jen Conley was there for that, and she was just giving us the hardest time, and I'm like, Jen, I need to focus. Frank held onto the podium the whole time, never said one word. All right. Hey, listen, guys, we got some really great stuff we're going to cover today. It's 117 out there. It's 100 Kai. It's 105 out here. Okay, like I said before, guys, sharing is caring. It is. Hit that share button. It helps us out. We're going to cover a bunch of great stuff today. And it helps us bring stuff to you free of charge. I did mention on my show that there's a great white paper that was put out for the GSEs. It was commissioned for the FHFA, and it talks about risk in the mortgage space over the past 25 years. I have a sneaking suspicion that this white paper is put together to help dictate, determine, justify, or rationalize GSE policy going forward from 2021 on. And I think it's going to have a huge impact in terms of the type of loans that you write. And as I said before, currently 62% of all loans that are written are either guaranteed or purchased by the GSEs. It's been as high as 64% over the past 25 years, as low as 37%. But needless to say, you can't have any meaningful conversation about the mortgage space without first and foremost talking about Fannie and Freddie. And this is the first time in the illustrious 80-plus year history of Fannie Mae that they have looked at risk comprehensively over multiple decades. Now, this thing is over 100 pages, and I'm telling you right now, it's one hell of a knot to untie. But we are going to start to cover this live on the Frank Ray and Brian Stevens Facebook page. It's going to be a little tedious, but it will give you probably the best insight in terms of the type of loans that you're going to be able to write for the second half of this year, and probably for the foreseeable future. So just make sure that you guys keep that in mind and jump back in as we go forward with that. Today we're going to talk about a hodgepodge of stuff. We've got some really cool things here. Oh, it's Erica with an A. Okay. Oh, Erica. I gotcha. Erica. A-R-I-C-A. What's up, Jeff Lake? Nice to see you. Jeff Lake, local Jeff Lake, right? Local Jeff Lake. You can't, Jen Conley, you can't believe I remember that? No, remember, I was the one who was conscious. Of course I remember that. Of course I remember that. Okay. So, first and foremost, guys, as I've said before, my good friends over at Oaktree are absolutely fantastic partners. And for your non-QM right now, it's the fastest growing segment of the mortgage market. So you're going to want to make sure that you have great non-QM partners so you can offer all types of loans, everything to, all the clients that you could potentially be working with, especially when you're considering that we're going to be taking a 30% haircut in terms of our overall volume. You can make up a lot of that volume with strategic partnerships. A great strategic partner for any loan officer, both broker and banker, is Oaktree Funding. These guys are bitching. They're my partners. They're going to be one of the groups we're going to see when we're down there in Chandler. And we are excited to be down there, and we are excited, hopefully, to have you guys a part of that whole thing. So make sure you guys keep Oaktree in mind as we're going forward. All right. So here's a graph right now of this is the Fed rate at the bottom. The Fed rate's really interesting. So this is going on from 2020, where we're at right now, to the end of 2024, the beginning of 2025. So we have a solid almost 4-year history of where Moody's believes these three indices are going to be going. Now, you can see that the Fed rate at the bottom it's the one in the light blue at the bottom. The Fed rate it's at zero, or it's at or near zero would be the technical term. It's at or near zero, and it's been this way for a significant amount of time. It's worth pointing out that the Fed rate does not have a history of being this low. The United States Federal Reserve is the only Fed bank, one of very few Fed banks in the world who has not gone to negative rates, which is really strange if you think about that. When you go to negative rates, that means I have to pay you money to hold my money. So not only am I not getting a return for stashing my investment with a bank or with somebody, I actually have to pay you. In other words, negative interest rates, which has been the monetary policy of multiple countries, both in the East and the West, I've always felt this was quite remarkable as we've worked our way through recessions over the past 15 years. But what it essentially has amounted to is that keeping mattress money is going to be a much more efficient way of holding money than to go ahead and put your money in the bank. So where do you store money? Where do you keep money if wherever you put your money is going to lose money, especially places that traditionally, like interest-bearing accounts, are at or below zero? We are at or near zero. So I think most economists, most folks would say that, getting away from the Fed rate, getting off the floor somewhere in the next couple of years, it would signify that the economy is doing better. It would also signify, again, there is so much more than just monetary policy taking place, isn't there? I mean, as of 14 months ago, the world was sent ass over tea kettle with this whole COVID thing. because now we can't simply look at markets to dictate if we are going in or out of a recession, if the economy is improving or if it is receding. We can't do that because now we have policies in place that will purposely make our economy recede. So the Fed coming out and saying we're going to pull, the Fed rates, off the mat in the upcoming years is a vote of confidence from the Fed that they believe that the economy is going to be doing better. It is really, if you think about this, it's a roundabout way for the Fed saying that we don't necessarily think COVID is going to be an issue down the road. Because if they did, then certainly I would think that they wouldn't project rates going from at or below or at or near zero up to 2%. Above that, we have the 10-year bill, the T-bill up there, the Treasury bill. And over the next few years, we see that going from 1% up to 4%. But the interesting one is Moody's sees your 30-year meat and potato fixed rate mortgage going from 3% to 5%. And 3% for 5% is not that big of a deal when you consider it's over a 4-year period. So that would be a gradual climb. But if you notice with all these three indicators, I think the key that you need to look at here is there's really no let up in them, is there? In other words, Moody's sees all three of these indices doing nothing but going up, meaning the rate you're selling today is going to be better than the rate you're selling tomorrow, and the rate you're selling tomorrow is going to be better than the rate you're selling the next day, the next week, the next month, the next year. The idea is that rates are going to gradually go up, and I think most economists agree with this. I think from a mortgage loan officer's perspective, I think how this could be helpful for you. First of all, it doesn't matter. It just does not matter two shits what interest rate you're selling. It just doesn't. People are going to get mortgages. They're going to get rate and term, cash out refis, debt consolidation refis, this stuff. They're going to purchase houses. They're going to sell houses. Money always moves with rates going up or down. It just does. In fact, you're going to find in most markets when interest rates are going up, those tend to be some of the hottest purchase markets that we have. I think the thing right now from a mortgage loan officer's perspective, when we look at these three indicators, these indexes, is that when you're talking with your clients right now who still may be on the fence about doing any type of refinance, it could be a rate and term or any variation of cash out refinance. I think what's important to message to them is most economists, and we've got Moody's right here, which is right at the top of the list, is saying, hey, listen, if you're waiting for a better rate, all indications are you're going to have to wait a hell of a long period of time because we've got a 4-year projection here that shows rates doing nothing but going up. Now, we all know that rates go up like this. It's kind of it's an ebb and flow with a trending direction going north. But when you have an ebb and flow with a trending direction going north, what we're really talking about when it comes to interest rates is maybe finding an eighth better in a rate here or there with a quarter, it's an eighth down, a quarter up, an eighth down, a quarter up, an eighth down, a quarter up, that type of thing. In other words, it's a losing proposition to float. That's what I think. It's a losing proposition to float because an eighth, unless you have a $10 million loan, is not going to amount to any substantial amount of money. And if rates are going to be trending north, as I'm talking with my clients on all different types of refinances, I would make sure I'm pulling out all these types of graphs. Even looking at Barry's MBS Highway and all the great utility that holds for loan officers in terms of using the art of sales or the art of persuasion. Sales is the art of persuasion, persuading people to make moves that are going to be in their best interest. And this is just one simple graph, but keep in mind when you're talking with your clients, you're not a butcher, chopping up a piece of pastrami, are you? We're not taking tickets and calling number 9 and finding out what they want and, giving them a stromboli and, and some Swiss cheese, some head cheese. No. You guys are professionals. And when you're sitting down having a conversation with your clients, you need to share with them what your insight is and what you're seeing on a regular basis. It will, 1, lead to more transactions for you. 2, will lead to happier clients because clients ultimately are looking for, they're looking for guidance from professionals. Like I think I've told the story before, but I went and bought a mattress years ago, and I'm like, I want to spend $400 on a mattress, and I want one that's real soft and real springy. And I sat down with some dude, mattress salesperson. Go figure, right? Would have never thought it in a million years. Not really in the mattress game a lot. So I had this guy who was trying to find me what I wanted. Nothing like made sense. His boss came up and told me why I didn't want what I said I wanted and why my price point was a bunch of bullshit. What I ended up doing is walking out of there spending 3 times as much on a mattress, which was not as soft as I had wanted, and I was 10 times happier because I had somebody who really understood the product. I mean, I box springs, mattresses, smart foam, shit like that, you know. I mean, I get it, but I had somebody who really understood the differences and was asking me questions about my need, and I walked away from there spending more money with something that I didn't intend to get when I walked in there, and it was a better bet all the way around. So when you're sitting down and talking with your clients, you're selling a hell of a lot more than a mattress, aren't you? So when you're having a conversation with your clients, don't act like you're taking tickets and you're cutting up salami. Sit down and have a professional conversation with your clients. Ask them what their needs are. You know, I want a rate and term refinance. You know, sit down and ask them, okay, well, what are you looking for? All right, so do you have bills? Let's look at your outstanding bills. What are we doing with this revolving debt over here? What type of interest rate are you paying on your Cap 1 card? Is this reasonable? Oh, you're going to pay it off in 3 months. How long have you carried this balance for? Oh, 10 years? I mean, think about this. Have you ever thought about this? Have you ever seen people who use credit cards extensively? It's like you'll go get lunch, right? Go get a hamburger, a beer, and fries. It's going to cost you 15, 18, 20 bucks. Now, if you're carrying a balance on your credit card and you're not really paying that off and you're paying your minimum, how much is that hamburger, fries, and a beer going to cost you by the time that damn thing is paid off? It could cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars. You're not paying it off. You're just paying 18% interest on it, right? Right, exactly. See, you didn't think about that, did you? And yet that's exactly what happens. If you're carrying balances on this shit and making your minimum payments, what is the cost of a hamburger? I mean, it's crazy. So how do we get out of this vicious cycle? Again, I don't want to sit here and just, be mom and kind of browbeat you on this stuff, but just food for thought when you're having a conversation with your clients. Remember, these type of indices that Moody's is showing us. It's not necessarily where rates are going or where they're at now. It's the fact that they are trending in one direction and one direction only. And every other economist in the country is really kind of looking at this the same way. So I thought this was kind of interesting, guys. Here's an interesting quote. According to the second quarter survey, 69% of lenders believe profit margins are going to decrease in the 3 months ahead compared to 52% in the prior quarter. Just 19% believe profits will remain the same. 11% believe that profits are actually going to increase. The decline, now this is interesting, the decline represents the largest quarterly decline recorded since a survey began back in 2014, so says Fannie Mae. So this is obviously a survey of lenders finding out where their margins are going. Again, this is talking about what is, at this point, a dead horse getting kicked time and time again, not just by me, but by the industry as a whole. Margins are going to shrink. You look like an old Godzilla movie? Voice not matching? Damn it. God, I thought I had this whole thing figured out. Thanks, Tony. Tony down there in New Mexico in Albuquerque. My bad. I thought I had this whole thing figured out. Oh, you know what? Let me try this. And by the way, it's not Godzilla. It's Godzilla. Just kidding. Just kidding. These sensitive people out there are going to lose their mind. How dare you? Well, we'll try to get through this here. Sorry about that. So what this really says is that outside of 11% of the industry, virtually anybody who is securitized or who's writing loans, who's funding loans, believes that profit margins are going to go down. There's only one reason, guys, understand this. There's only one reason why profit margins are going to go down. And that is because there's going to be a price war. Lenders are going to, again, we've talked about this before, lenders are going to try to pick up market share. And in the process of trying to pick up market share, they're going to lower their interest rates as a means of doing it, rather than being more creative with their marketing, rather than helping their loan officers out with marketing tools, encouraging people to work smaller, work smarter. The solution is is to lower interest rates, and that's how we get margin compression. That's the only way you get margin compression. And I'll tell you what it really comes down to. From a mortgage loan officer's point of view, it's really a vote of non-confidence from your employer. Because when they're saying, all right, we're going to take our profit margins and get to a point as we did before where we have negative, where we're actually writing loans at a negative. Remember when that happened a number of years ago, 4 or 5 years ago? If they're willing to get to the point where they have to write a gazillion loans in order to turn a penny, that's saying that they don't think that you as a loan officer are a viable alternative to pick up that lost business. So, my thing is prove them wrong and go out there and pick up that business. And here's the great thing, everyone's heard that before, where it's like, what is it? If you're getting chased by a bear, I don't need to outrun the bear. I just need to outrun you. That's pretty right. Yeah. Well, from a loan officer's point of view, you don't have to be a great marketer. You just have to be a better marketer more so than the person to the left and the right of you. Now, how astute is your average loan officer when it comes down to marketing? Are they brilliant? Are they kicking ass? Are they organized? Are they disciplined? Are they time blocking? The answer is no. Still, surprisingly, the vast majority of loan officers, your CRM is wadded up bar napkins in your pockets with phone numbers on them. And I'm not bitching about this. I did the same thing too. I'm just saying, if you're a loan officer and you're trying to pick up market share, you don't have to be a great marketer. You simply have to be better than your average marketer, and we haven't exactly set the bar terribly high in this industry. It's food for thought. Now, I do find it interesting that 11% of mortgage companies believe that profits are actually going to increase. So what that tells me is, if you find yourself with your interest rates, a point to a point and a half out of market, your company is still keeping their margins up. The problem is you're going to find yourself with a rate that's out of line. And I am of the opinion that mortgage interest rates don't matter. You always hear this, rates don't matter, rates don't matter. Well, rates don't matter until they do, right? Rates don't matter until they do. So keep in mind as we're going forward, as this margin compression thing goes, just look at your rates where you are relative to the rest of the industry and see if you guys are competitive. That's, again, and this is going to be more pronounced now in the second half of 2021 than it has in years past. Check out these stairs. What do you guys think? I've always thought houses that kind of took that sailboat galley approach, where they made smart use of their space, was pretty cool. So this is, I just saw this and I'm like, well, that's kind of neat, where what they did is they turned their stairs. This is great for alcoholics. So they turn their staircase into a wine cellar. And it is pretty neat, and it's charming as all damn hell. Now, here's the thing that I know here. Yeah, Adam, dude. Yeah, I'll get this thing straightened out before next time, man. I get it. I thought I had this whole thing addressed here. We're going to make this one a short one. My friends down in Texas would love this thing, but they'd take those wine bottles out of there and they'd be putting guns in them. My friends down there in Houston, Texas would love this type of stuff, but they'd love it with guns. And here's my big story for the day, guys. So tell me what you guys think. Here's an email that I recently got. I want to share a recent experience with you with the hopes that you are as outraged as I am and will let others in our industry know what is happening. I'm refinancing a client who has a State Farm policy. I asked the client to find out who at SF I should send my mortgage clause change request form to. My client called her agent's office and was told that State Farm has its own mortgage company, and in an email to my client, the State Farm agent asked for a copy of my loan estimate, see below. The State Farm agent even lists her NMLS number on her signature line. Come to find out, blank is a State Farm agent and licensed mortgage broker for Blank Solutions Incorporated, whose office address is the same as the State Farm office. Totally unethical, conflict of interest, and a scumbag move on the part of the blank State Farm agent. Is this how they get their leads? Trying to undercut and steal clients from other mortgage companies. Now I've heard about this before. I just I'm a big fan of separation of church and state in all things real estate and mortgage lending. I am. I think the world. I think real estate and mortgage lending works better when we have checks and balances in place and everybody stays in their own lane. However, if you're going to find a company, if you're going to find an insurance company who's going to write loans, well, they're going to do it. You get to choose. You get to choose who you want to send your business to as a mortgage loan officer, or I mean, who you choose to recommend. You're not sending your business to anybody, but who you might recommend. I would hesitate to send it to an insurance company who's writing loans. That in and of itself would be enough for me to not want to send my mortgages to that insurance company. However, when you put on top of that I'm sending my business to a State Farm agent who then in turn is going to try to steal my business, yeah, that would probably piss me off to the point to where I wouldn't want to send my... It's kind of like Keller Mortgage, isn't it? Isn't this exactly what Keller Mortgage was doing? Where a loan officer would send I don't know if they're doing it as much as they used to, but isn't this what was going on over there? Yeah, Keller Mortgage, you'd send one of your clients over to a Keller Williams agent, and then Keller Mortgage would go out there and say, we're going to beat it and sign this thing. Yeah.
I agree to pay a higher rate.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what they did. I agree to pay a higher rate. So Jeff is going down the route that we're all talking about here. And it does make you kind of scratch your head here, doesn't it? Now, I've always been kind of a hands-off person when it comes to, Rocket and everything that those guys are doing here. But listen, I don't know. I don't know how comfortable I would feel sending my clients to an insurance company who's trying to rip off my clients, so I'm sending over to them. Now, how many other companies are doing this besides State Farm? Again, we've heard about this before, but this is the first time I've seen this with such absolute blatant disregard, to where the insurance agent, is asking the loan officer to send the stuff over to them so they could literally find a way to undercut them. And it does really, listen, I know that Rocket Wholesale is trying to do a bunch of stuff to play nice with brokers, and I get it, and I think that they do a hell of a good job, and I know that Rocket compartmentalizes their retail from their wholesale, but, you start, Tentacles going out and doing stuff like this, you've got to think a company as big as Rocket is going to understand that this is going to ruffle a hell of a lot of feathers. It is going to make a lot of folks just think twice before they send their business anyplace. Now, it could be there, the wholesale division is saying, well, we don't have anything to do with this. Like, well, I don't know how much that matters, right? I don't know how much that matters. If it's all feeding the beast, man, I don't know. I have a hard time with this. Now, what I'm doing is I'm withholding the name of the folks in here. And, and the other information that I received with this. And I've received a number of these before, but I wanted to share it with you. How do you guys feel about this? Reasonable? Unreasonable? I think you'd be hard-pressed to find any loan officer who would think that would be a good idea. In fact, you'd be hard-pressed to find a real estate agent or anybody on a matter of principle. If I am working with somebody else who's choosing to cross-pollinate his or her products and then is going to try to steal my client when we're in the middle of a transaction with that client, I mean, that's what my grandpa used to call, that's a dirty game of pool. It's just a dirty game of pool. That ain't playing by the rules. Now, a lot of people would say that there are no rules to play by anymore. And I would say that's a sad day. But here's what we do. Voting, the best way to vote is to vote with our pocketbook, isn't it? And send your business where your business is going to support you. Yeah, Jeff says Rocket and Zillow, same thing, dressed up differently. But this is, when you think about it, it's, okay, you're right. I agree with that. USA tried this once with you, Scott, huh? George Scott. Here's the thing. You get this with Open Door. You're getting this with OfferPad now. And then we started looking at some of these hedge funds who are going out here and doing the same thing too. There's so much remarkable cross-pollination going on in this industry. And here's my point, and I'm like I said, because I sound like an old Godzilla movie right now, we're gonna keep this thing a little bit short today. But here's what I gotta say about this. Where is the damn consideration for the client? Like, honestly, where in the hell is the consideration for the client? Because what we're doing is, with the Zillows, with the Rockets, with the cross-pollination, with the taking out all the checks and balances, with the turning people into data, buying, selling, securitizing a person's data, okay? We have dehumanized our clients in a lot of ways. Our clients are not people as much as they are assets. Like, I'm not saying with you, I'm saying that's what this industry is doing to people. It's dehumanizing them. It's making them not be individuals, but to be assets, to be purchased, to be sold. Their information to be purchased and sold as an entity separate from whoever the human being is. That's what's going on here. Because in the scenario right there with State Farm, this client clearly went to the loan officer where there was a level of trust. That was a past client. That was somebody where there was a rapport that was built. Now, I don't know about you guys, and maybe it is I'm just getting too old for this shit. But for me, rapport is more important than cost. It honestly is. If I have great rapport with somebody who's got a skill set that is outside of mine and I'm purchasing any type of good, whatever it is, that rapport is more important to me because that rapport is trust. And trust is all important. So now, if I go to my loan officer, and then I have my insurance company, and then my insurance company puts me in an awkward situation of driving a wedge between me and my loan officer, now it has me second guessing myself. But am I second guessing myself with my relationship with my loan officer or with my relationship with my insurance company? Now, if I'm a loan officer and I get defensive about this and I go to my client, I could just come across as sour grapes, can't I? Now I'm putting my client in a much more awkward situation. However, I didn't initiate this bullshit. State Farm did, didn't they? So the commoditization of people and taking the human element out of these transactions, I think is something that is remarkably disheartening. And when we consider all the unintended consequences of the policies and laws that we've put in place over the past decade. Too big to fail is now bigger than it's ever been. You know what I mean? Writing safer, smarter loans have left responsible homeowners on the outside looking in. We've got a State Farm insurance agent in Iowa doing this too. Jen, I have a sneaking suspicion there's a whole bunch of people doing this. I'm just saying from my perspective, from the cheap seats up in the bleachers, I'm just telling you, I think that there's a lack of consideration for the big companies who are putting profits first. And make no bones about that. That's what's happening here, is you have Rocket who's saying, we need to make money at all costs. Do you think it's cheap to name all those stadiums Rocket Stadium? You think Super Bowl commercials are cheap? I mean, money at all cost, above and beyond the consideration and concern for the consumer and the relationships that they have in place. It's the Zillows and the Rockets of the world, they have a macro approach, don't they? Everything is macro. It's not about the person. It's about the bulk. It's about the number. It's about the data. How many times have you heard a person's past client database referred to as data? I hear it all the time. Everyone's data. That's a macro outlook in terms of where this market is. That calling people data, having a macro outlook, is something that you do because you are beholden to shareholders, not to communities. Good rule of thumb. You got an IPO recently, you are now legally and morally obligated to your shareholders, not to your communities, not to your loan officers, and not to the clients. You are legally bound to produce as much in profits as you can for your shareholders. And yes, that comes at the expense of your consumers. There's a built-in conflict of interest when you think about corporations writing loans. Who the hell do I have my fiduciary to? My client or my shareholders? Because make no bones about it, you have a legal and moral obligation to your shareholders if you're a publicly traded company. So what do? You have a macro approach. You turn people into data. You dehumanize, you depersonalize the entire process. And that's when shit goes wrong. When you're working with a regional mortgage loan officer, a real estate agent, somebody who's community-based, they have a micro approach to things. Their concern, their legal and moral obligation is in fact to the client. The exact opposite of who these corporations' legal and moral obligation is to. That's the truth. There's really no arguing with it. So from a consumer standpoint, even if I had to pay an eighth more in rate, which by the way, you won't, you'll pay a lower rate, you'll have lower fees. But even if I had to, having that trust and having somebody who's empathetic in terms of what my plight is, especially if I'm dealing with an eighth, a half, a quarter, $1,000,000, $750,000, whatever the case may be, having somebody who has deep consideration for me and my family, shit, dare I say, even knows my kids' names, yeah, that matters to me. So, yeah, I don't like this shit at all. So, what can we do from, thanks, Josh. It's a truth, dude. I mean, it's where my head's at. Like, fuck this stuff. It's bullshit. So, what can we do from a micro standpoint? All of us real estate agents and loan officers. Before you, I'm telling you right now, before I refer anybody over to anyone else who is in the periphery of what I do as my chosen profession, I'm going to find out if they have an NMLS number. And if they do, they ain't getting my business, period. Period. Yeah, Brand, totally right. Yeah, it's disheartening, and the scary thing is with, you know, this was 2020 was the year of the IPO. We're gonna see more of this type of stuff going on, and I'm just, you know, stay the course. Here's what local real estate agents and mortgage loan officers have. You guys don't have the technology, you never will, so just forget it. Just forget it. You're never gonna have the money. You're never gonna outspend Zillow. It ain't gonna happen. They're not gonna outspend Rocket, so forget it. Forget it. What you guys have is numbers. You guys got numbers. You have relationships in your community. And the big macro approach, the big block IPOs, the publicly traded companies, they cannot have the relationships that you have in your community. Now, they can get on your TV, and during the NBA Finals, they can certainly go ahead and buy commercial space there. They absolutely can do that. They can make clever commercials. They can buy radio space. You know, they've got that. They've got that on you. But the thing is when you guys mobilize and look out after each other, title, escrow, dare I say even appraisals. I know they can be a pain in the ass, but appraisals, working with local real estate agents, working with local lenders. Keep this shit local. Real estate agents, work local. Work local. Refer local at all costs. Refer local. It's better for everybody. Keep that money in your community. Price can replace the ability to structure and problem solve. Anyone can do vanilla. You know, that's actually a very interesting point too, because when you start looking at like local bond issues, things that are taking place, I mean, how many of these macro approach publicly traded companies truly understand the bond issues in your area? And even if they're doing them, do they understand the nuance and subtlety of doing it? I remember going down shit in Vacaville, doing our Vacaville down payment assistance program. A Judy Case, I used to go down there. I used to bring her bottles of wine and drop off my loan packages for her. We got to know each other on a personal level. But we got our shit funded fast, didn't we? So just keep in mind on a micro level, guys, what we can do is just, hey, you have a decision in where you're referring your business to. And I'll tell you this, don't keep this secret from your client. When you're sitting down with your client, say, hey, listen, I'm going to tell you why I'm referring my business over to these people. 1, the price point is better. 2, you're working with somebody local. 3, by the way, your insurance agent writes insurance. Your insurance agent isn't writing insurance and moonlighting as a loan officer. Because they ain't great at both. They're probably shitty at both. The reason why they're moonlighting as a loan officer, is because they're probably not that good at being an insurance agent. That's why people do crap like that. Oh, and by the way, if you're ever in an accident, God forbid your insurance agent is taking a loan app. If somebody ever hits your kid's car, God forbid she's trying to get loan docs out. You know what I mean? Yeah, stay in your own lane, man. Stay in your own lane. That's my thinking. I got a ton of referrals from Rocket. I know this won't be popular, but if you think Rocket Homes, Mortgage, etc. Similarly treats their client like a commodity, then there's a reason why they're eating your lunch. Listen, hold on a second here. Hold on a second. I am not talking about any individuals, Gage. I'm not talking about any individuals. And if you watch my show with any regularity, you know that I've been a big proponent of what Rocket is doing on a wholesale level. I also know that Rocket has spent a lot of time and energy and resources trying to get leads over to a lot of folks over there writing loans. I totally get it. I totally get it. But what I'm doing is I'm compartmentalizing, and I'm talking about this right now from an insurance agent's perspective. I mean, if listen, maybe this isn't so much a reflection on Rocket as it is on State Farm, right? Because from where I'm sitting right now, State Farm is probably going to get this relationship with somebody. If it's not Rocket, it's probably going to be somebody else. And I'm not knocking I get it. I understand it. They do have a legal and moral obligation to their shareholders. I get it. And I know they do a bunch of good stuff. But what I am saying from a loan officer's perspective, if I am sending my business over to an insurance agent, and that insurance agent has an MLS number, yeah, I'm going to be hesitant to do it. I don't think that's really terribly out of line. And here's the whole thing. And Gage, I don't mean to point anybody out. I'm not that's not my intention here. And by the way, I absolutely appreciate your perspective and your statement. And on a lot of levels, I agree with you. The thing is that most things in life are not binary. They're not black or white. They're not plus or negative. They're not dead or alive. They're not yin or yang. They're not binary. Most everything in life is a shade of gray, isn't it? Okay? There's not many things that are absolutely bad or absolutely good. One simply lacks the other to a certain extent, right? There's lots of shades of gray here. And again, I think, I know that Quicken Wholesale does a bunch of great stuff. I know that Quicken Wholesale has busted their ass to provide great rates, great products, and great opportunities and great leads for mortgage brokers. I've seen it. I know it. I believe in it. And I think from a mortgage broker standpoint, that having all these options on the table for you is remarkably important. I absolutely 100% agree with that. And I personally couldn't see myself as a mortgage broker limiting myself to or being pigeonholed or cornered into working with one wholesaler or two wholesalers. I couldn't see that. Again, I'm probably in the process of pissing everybody off at this point. But, I think the whole idea of being a mortgage broker is being independent and being able to independently find out what the best choice for my client is. And where that lies, it lies. I totally get where you're coming from on this. But with that said, with the insurance thing, I mean, wouldn't it, if you're a loan officer and you're working with let's not even call it State Farm anymore. You're working with an insurance agent, and that insurance agent, tried to bogart your deal out from underneath you, would that tick you off? What if you're working with a real estate agent? What if you cultivated a lead, you had a past client, and then you gave your past client to a trusted real estate agent, and the first thing that real estate agent did was try to hand you off to a lender not named you? I think we'd be hard-pressed to say that wouldn't tick off any loan officer. And it would really make you kind of second-guess where you're sending your business. Doug, dude, right here. I'm telling you right now, I know all those guys over at Quicken Wholesale, and I've been a massive proponent of what they do. On and off my show, I've been a massive proponent of what those guys do, and I know their heart's in the right spot. Again, it's easy for us to compartmentalize. I'm just saying, I understand when you start to see stuff like this, it does raise some questions, though, doesn't it? I mean, it does make it... Listen, we can say all we want that it doesn't make it a harder path to sled. Okay? We can say that, but we all know that that's not true. That it does lead to a certain amount of fodder for people to say, well, hold on a second, time out. Look what's happening over here, so it's happening over here. It would be easy for some of these big publicly traded companies to go. And by the way, when I say publicly traded companies, I'm not just talking about Quicken, guys. I'm talking about publicly traded companies. They do. They have an obligation to their shareholders. That's binding. That's legal. Okay? But it does create some fodder for lenders to go out there. And it does make harder sledding for those who are working over at Quicken Wholesale, doesn't it? I have fired real estate agents for shopping out my prequels. Absolutely. When I was a broker, Quicken was your favorite. Absolutely. I get it. Yeah, these are really, you know what, guys? Here's my whole point. Here's the only thing I would ask everybody. These are really complicated topics of conversation to have. They really are. And what we need to do as an industry, for the sake of our clients and for the sake of our communities, is keep an open dialogue with each other. And we have to be able to ask the hard questions. And we have to be able to ask the hard questions, and we have to be able to respond to the hard questions without fear of, this, pack a dog mentality that you get on social media half the time with a handful of folks. I mean, we have to be able to have honest conversations about it to see what the best options are. And I think keeping everything open is a great place to start. So that's why when I get folks who are on this thing right now and they're sharing different opinions, man, I dig them all. I think an open dialogue is the most important thing that we can do. So I will try to get this whole thing set up tomorrow to where I'm not going to have delay. I don't know why this is happening. I might have too many tabs open. But I appreciate you guys being on. I hope you enjoyed the topics for today. If you have any ideas for topics, or if you guys want to jump on here, tell me why I'm right, tell me why I'm wrong. I'm open to both, as long as you leave my kids and wife out of it. Just let me know. Hit the comments or, instant message me and let me know what you guys are thinking. And with that said, I will talk with you guys, tomorrow, when it will be 111. It was about this time last year when everything burned down, wasn't it? Remember, I had people sleeping underneath my desks when we got evacuated from those damn fires last year. This is the trippy thing. Remember, we got those fires were last year, and it was like, holy shit, these fires are horrible. And then COVID came in crashing, and it was like, what fires? The fires alone would have been a really big thing. And then, of course, COVID hit. So hopefully that won't happen again tomorrow. All right, guys. With that said, I totally appreciate everybody and what you guys bring to the table. Happy selling. Keep your nose down. Kick ass. And let's talk.